here can at least talk a little bit about, alright, is we're gonna talk about VTubers, alright? We're not gonna talk about the JP VTubers, alright? We're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the English VTubing community, alright? Uh, we're gonna talk about not the established famous people, alright? We're gonna talk about people who are newer. I don't know that many. Do I know any? Um, we're gonna talk about smaller VTubers, not like the big ones. So not talking about the famous MM. We can talk about MM. There is a VTuber group. So yeah, we can talk about anything. Just make sure that the current topic is. I have to change my thing. You actually seen a lot of internet. By smaller. Okay, hold on. This is an important topic. Let me just change the topic. Talking about VTubers. We're gonna update my stream. All right, there we go. Let's go. I don't know that many. Do you know any? We're talking about. We can talk about Devious Sprite, so we can talk about Vi. Sure. Your Magister Latro says, I am so new that I have not started yet. Well, we can actually get into that. So, really quickly, after we get some topics that we can talk about, I'll talk about how to become a VTuber in less than 30 minutes. I think that's something that would be fun to listen to. And then let's do. Erakune says, I've seen a lot of Ian VTubers and a few French ones. Actually, I haven't seen many Japanese VTubers. So we can broach that topic as well. And Asa says the most important topic to talk about, which is how do you define smaller? And Erakune says, let's talk about me. So I'll approach these in the order that I feel that we should. How do I define a smaller VTuber? Definitely a VTuber that isn't as big as, okay, let's say below 1,000 followers. All right, so that's still a pretty wide net, but in terms of actual viewership per stream, we're maybe not, maybe okay, like 1,000 or a bit above 1,000, right? But definitely, okay, no. Instead of doing it by followers, we'll go by concurrent views. Anyone who has 50 concurrent views or less, I'll define as smaller. Because if you are starting to go above 50, if you are starting to approach a partnership, okay, 75. We'll go with 75 because I want to say anyone who's not cannot apply for partnership, it would be a smaller VTuber. All right, so that's how we'll go. With that topic. Next topic to broach is, yes, you can talk about anything about Devious Sprite, Simply Okay Gamer. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Just noticed that you got here. Hope you'll stick around for just conversation, because that's really what my stream is about. That was mostly a joke, though. No, we're totally fine if you want to talk about Devious Sprite. That's cool. And then Erakune says, I've seen a lot of Ian VTubers and a few French ones. I haven't actually seen many JP VTubers. There's a couple reasons for that. Most JP VTubers are on Twitch, are not on Twitch. The most of JP VTubers and CN and KR VTubers are on YouTube because YouTube is better, or they are Nico Nico, or they are on Bilibili, or they are on whatever their respective country's version of YouTube is. They're not on Twitch because Twitch is less, I guess, less known. Like, if you compared the giant of how big YouTube is to the giant of how big, the size of Twitch, it definitely dwarfs them in size. And then, also, okay, let's see. Erakune says, I think that viewers per stream would be better than followers. You can gain a lot of followers over the time because hitting the follower button is easy. But that doesn't mean people stop by to watch. Yes, I will definitely say that viewer retention is how we will broach the topic of, viewer retention is more or less how we will define smaller VTubers from here on out, because it's very, especially, I'm not accusing anyone of this, all right, but you can buy followers, and that doesn't help you become a bigger VTuber because it's all about audience retention. It's all about getting people to watch your stream and to be consistently interested and interacting. And then Simply OK Gamer asks, so did TikTok get banned after all? To which I say, I don't know. I honestly don't know. There was something about an executive order and then something about TikTok trying to give $1 billion to content creators to just ignore that. And then Asalong Gaming says, or Asa says, I definitely agree with that. I started the VTubing thing with 46 for my previous year streaming on and off. Yeah, no, VTubing is really, getting into it is pretty hard. Getting a decent average view count is proving to be one of the harder parts. Definitely, definitely. As one of the smaller, newer VTubers myself, I can definitely say that there is a lot of hard work to be put in to even get people to try to attend your streams. The biggest problem I feel is visibility, because when you go to a channel, you can't sort by lowest first, and there's also an entire category you're going to be fighting to stream in. So I've actually approached the problem. Okay, before I get into this, because this can go on for a while, someone here earlier said they were new to the... Okay, it was Magister Latro, if I remember correctly. Magister Latro said they were too new, so they haven't started. I'm going to say this very easily. You can become a VTuber in 30 minutes. What you need to do is you need to get Vroid, which is a 3D modeling program. You can easily create something decent looking in less than 10 minutes. You need to get something called VC Face, which you acquire from someone named Deet, D-E-A-T, Deet server. You can get VC Face, which is a 3D... This is what I'm using. So I'm using Vroid right now, and I'm using VC Face, and that's what you're seeing right now for me to become a VTuber. And if you're trying to be a multilingual VTuber, check out my YouTube channel. There's a way to get in real-time captions, and that's how you become a VTuber in less than 30 minutes. Now, approaching what Asa said, and Long was pointing out, yeah, getting a decent viewer average is super, super hard, especially as a new person, because what you're going to have to do is you have to constantly be social networking, constantly be meeting new people and trying to convince them, hey, look, I have something interesting to offer. I have something that I think you might like, it would be cool if you'd stop by and let me have the chance to come with you. But it is super hard to get people to stay in your stream, because not only do you have to convince them to click on your stream, you have to convince them to stay. And convincing someone to stay when you are a new VTuber and there are so many other options is extremely difficult, specifically for the reason you're either going to be in a category with so many people to watch okay, so there's two ways to get viewerships. So you either stream to a category that's super, super big, that there's enough people that there's a chance that someone will randomly click on you, or you stream to a really niche category and get really good in that niche category, so much so that you start drawing audience away from other people in that niche category into yours. Now, the problem with both is if you're in a larger category, you're directly competing with people who already have been established as really good VTubers, or just normal streamers to begin with, and the hope is that there will be so many people there that some of them will give you the time of day. Versus if you're streaming in a smaller category, you're now trying to compete with the people who are already well known in that category and trying to get them to watch you. But I'm not sure how easy the smaller one is, but I can say from personal experience that I personally feel that you have a better chance if you try to stream to a larger audience, because more people get exposed to you. That is my own take on this, but that's because I've tried doing the smaller streams and they didn't really work out for me, and then I tried doing the just chatting category, which is huge. There's so many VTubers here. Most of them have the word "conf" in their name. And I feel like I've had the opportunity to at least get to know some new people. Simply OK Gamer says, nowadays I've noticed that people just get bored pretty quickly too. To which Erakune replied, nowadays that's not a thing. That's being common. That's not a nowadays thing. That's been a thing for a long, long time. Yeah, it's very, very, very hard to get into an industry where you're essentially an entertainer. That's what we are. All the streamers are entertainers. We have to entertain you with our personality or our skills. In some way, skills being music or art or like video game, and personality. We have to have an appealing personality or an appealing hook to get you to stay on our stream. Asa says exposure is the hardest part for sure. No one can find you if you aren't popping up anywhere. Yeah, no, definitely feel like the smaller. Okay, also we'll also discuss this because this is a very closely related topic to exposure. Most VTubing people have the same audience. What that means is unless you can break into the specific group of people, you're going to get like no exposure. You can't just stream to nothing. You're going to have to, if you are trying to become a VTuber, you're going to have to try to somehow get yourself known in a circle, as well as be able to, within rules, apply yourself within that circle to have people attend your stream. Now, there are what I would call pockets of people that you can find. There are certain circles, and which generally are you can find by just searching groups, such as VSW or the Mew Crew or the Wolfgang or something like that. But the people who are friends with each other generally trade viewers within the same time, and they also generally don't overlap each other in stream times, which brings me to the topic of stream times. Stream times are very difficult because we're gonna only focus on NA for this portion of my, the guaranteed lecture that I have every single time I stream. Stream times are I've talked about this before. Stream times are very competitive. It's one of the biggest problems about stream times is if you try streaming when someone bigger than you is streaming, there's very little chance that you are going to be able to stream. That's why if you're trying to break into a circle, you have to figure out a time zone which works for you. First and foremost, it has to work for you. But second, you don't want to compete with others. And if you are competing with others, because I know some not VTubers, I know some streamers do this to shut out other streamers. They would stream at the same time as the other streamers to steal an audience from them. I know that I don't know how big he is now, but I know that someone named Fedmeister has admitted to this, where if someone else was streaming during his time, he would start streaming every single time they would start streaming to try to get all the viewers from that person to him. And having to compete in times already sucks enough, but then you also have to take into account where your audience is coming from. So for example, my stream comes from mostly United States. That is my demographic that I am trying to stream to. I do realize that I have people in the Scandinavian countries and the Europe that sometimes attend my stream, but the times that I have adjusted are for North America. So I stream from 2 p.m. to 6:30 PST, which on the East Coast would be 5 p.m. to I want to say 9 p.m. 9:30 PST, and that is because I can be my most competitive there. Because anytime before you have the early morning streams, and anytime after you have the I'm off work streams, and those are extremely hard to compete, especially the after work stream time slot, because after work stream also coincides with after school stream. So now you have the most people streaming during that period of time. So if you are trying to get into the industry, it's just don't really stream within the hours of like 5 p.m. PST to 10 p.m. PST, because that's when the majority of people are streaming. Or you could do the exact opposite and try streaming during that time to try to draw an audience that's already searching for content creators at that moment. Let's see. Simply OK Gamer says it's all competition, taking a piece of the pie wherever you go. Rather than try to take a piece of your pie for yourself, it's more like trying to share yourself in the same group and trying to convince people to that, hey, look, I'm providing content at the same level of quality as these other people, and hopefully you're interested in what I have, my own little twist on it, or my own gimmick or something like that. That's actually why. So there's a lot of other stuff associated that I'll get to in a second. And then Asa says exposure is the hardest part for sure. No one can find you from popping up anywhere. I just realized I double read. That is a problem. Not too big of a problem, but I'll keep on going forwards with what I'm saying. If anyone also wants to pop in with anything, just feel free to go ahead. Now, I did say part of the problem is that, but there's also the problem of how your stuff looks. One of the biggest ways to draw viewers is to have decent setups. Probably one of the most influential way to get people to show up, aside from exposure, because once you have exposure down, like, you're gonna have to work on these, and this is visuals and audio. If you sound like you're on, if you sound like you're in a chicken farm and there's like stuff going on in your background, if there's no music going on but you are showing like if there's no background music going on but you are having a gameplay, for example, or you're just talking, it's going to be really hard for people to stick around, because if they have something to tie them over, it's easier to listen to someone for a longer period of time. Whether or not you believe in them or whether or not they're actually what you're interested in is a completely different story. But having a better so it comes off as a matter of how much effort it looks like they're putting in, because it doesn't matter how much effort you're actually putting in. If it doesn't look like you're putting in effort, then people won't show up. For example, you can't just have a pitch black. Here, let me switch to something. You can't just have where am I? I'd have to add myself as a I'm not going to do that. But basically, you can't have a background that kind of looks like this. You can't have just a plain black background. You can't just have empty panels. I know my panels are pretty light, but you can't just have empty panels. You can't just have no stream UI. And if people follow you, you can't, like, part of the problem is audience engagement. You can't just not respond to comments or not respond to a follow or some other Streamlab event, because the whole point of you streaming and doing this live as opposed to doing a video is for audience engagement, for audiences to see in real time and react. You react to the audience reacts to you. You're both interviewing each other. What's going on at the current moment, versus creating a video where it doesn't really matter what the audience thinks, because it shouldn't have an effect on the current content that you're shooting. For the majority of content creators anyways, because they can't in real time react to what you're doing, and you can't in real time tune what you're doing to them. That was a long bit, but yeah, that's basically how it works. One good way to increase exposure is to do collabs with people or get more than one person on your stream. Collabs are nice, especially if you can find someone who definitely mixes. Okay, for collabs, I would definitely say pick someone who mixes with your personality way more than someone who's good or someone who's popular, because if you have good chemistry, then people are more likely to stick around. People are more likely to think that you are there. You are someone that they want to watch. Riku says, I agree. The big draw of the stream is engaging the chat. If someone is just streaming a script, then you may as well be watching a VOD or a YouTube video. It's having an interaction, which is the main reason to watch a stream. Yeah. Even for streams that are like, I'm watching a video or I'm reviewing stuff, or I'm reviewing stuff, it's very hard to do it. And then Simply Okay Gamer says, oh god, I have to call you Ply. I'm just gonna call you Ply, because a Simply Okay Gamer is way too long. Ply says, I had no clue who you were until you popped into MM streams, to be honest. That's where I'm gonna say personal work comes in. Like, there's always the part of you which should say and should be thankful for should be thankful for people who come by your stream and are staying around to interact with you, because they are definitely one of the most important parts of your stream. But you can't discount the fact that if you do end up start getting people to come into your stream, people to interact with, people to basically stream too, you also have to remind yourself that, hey, look, I put into effort. What Ply is referring to is, for example, after my streams, I spend basically the rest of the day. By the way, thanks for the follow, Simply Okay Gamer. Yeah, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate it. Really helps the growth. I'm doing thumbs up right now. I don't have my Leap Motion controller attached because I'm gonna go get a clip on Monday so that I can actually have my hands. Anyways, so there's a lot of stuff you can do, like putting yourself forwards and doing social networking. Social networking is probably the absolute most important thing as becoming a streamer, because you have Twitter to worry about. Some people worry about Instagrams, but definitely you have to be on some sort of a social forum. Discord is the most popular right now. being able to talk to people on Discord, having your own Discord, though having your own is not as important as being able to talk to people who are in the same, I guess, quote-unquote industry as you. Thanks for following, Long Lizard. Yeah, it really helps the channel grow. Anyways, stuff where you're trying to grow. So, for example, Ply was referring to when I popped into Vi's stream, who is Devious Bright. I'm going to shout her out right now. And I popped into her stream and started doing karaoke. The reason I did so is, well, first of all, it really interested me that the fact that they were doing a karaoke, and she's also Filipino and I'm Filipino, and you know, it was kind of like okay, whatever. That doesn't matter. What the other stuff doesn't matter. Part of it is trying to get known in different social circles. So. Devious Bright was not part of the normal social circle I know of, which is because I entered I re-entered the VTubing community, but or not re-entered, I guess. I entered the English-speaking VTuber community through someone named, I'm going to shout her out too. I entered through Harune's stream, and Harune's stream, her circle has to do with the more popular VTubers. So Harune's stream is in a circle with VSW, which is the largest English VTubing stream group, and also she is in the same circle of friends as, for example, Girl DM, Haruka Karibo, and the other people within that group, especially since they're sharing new people because they got featured on a YouTube channel called English VTuber Showcase. I think that's the name of it. I don't remember what the name of it was, but they are in their own contained circle. And part of my research after stream is I am trying to find people who are outside that circle, like I think I want to say Seiko, Hinami, Yuzuya, and those people. They're like wolf people. They're like a wolf gang or something. They're outside of that circle, and then there's another group of people who are like Devious Bright, Faratsky. There is Yuma Yamano, Mioku Puni. Basically, there's clearly defined pockets of audience that you'd have to reach out to try to get your audience in, and if you're able to constantly meet and find those new pockets, these new pockets do offer a new demographic for you to be able to appeal to, because you're never ever going to be able to get the same following on par with the circles who are with the people who are inside the circle without directly becoming friends with the top brass, I want to say, of that circle. Like, unless you're personal friends with Haruka Karibo, I want to say, Nanners, I'm going to say Harune, I'm going to say Girl DM, I'm going to say, let's pick one more person. Am I following someone who's like this? I have to go to Twitch to see. But basically, unless you're actually friends with them, it's going to be nigh impossible to break into the circle, mostly because even though they try rating new people, they've more or less closed off who their audience is because they provide similar content. I'm not saying they're copying the content. I'm saying that if you go to one of their streams and they mention one of their friends, or one of their friends shows up, you can expect that that friend is going to be able to deliver a similar stream of a similar quality to that circle. Yeah. Which is actually really nice when you start finding new circles to appeal to, because then it's like, hey guys, I'm totally new to this community, and you hang out with them, you mingle with them, but you also try to put forth, hey, I also have something that you guys might be interested in. The problem is you don't want to be only shilling yourself, because then it sounds like just what that is a shill. I know it is very tempting to constantly try to say like, hey guys, always watch my stuff, but like, if you do that, okay, first off, you're an asshole, because now you're entering communities just to advertise yourself, and you shouldn't be entering communities just to advertise yourself, because that's the wrong way to go about growth, because now you're no different than a bot. What you should be doing is you're trying to make connections, trying to see if people, what people like, or what you actually should be doing. first and foremost when you find these new circles is see what makes their circle tick, what works for them and what doesn't. For example, I've been noticing that a lot of the people I enjoyed watching did a lot of just chatting streams. A lot of them weren't particularly informative, but a lot of them were just people hanging out, and that's more or less what I've modeled my streams after, although my streams tend to become informative partway through. I know we had a lot of fun earlier where it was talking about food and different stuff about, different stuff about the food, but it's really important to find something that not only sets you apart and gives your own personal twist, but something that you actually enjoy. Because, for example, you don't want to just simp out to I'm going to use shooting games as my example. You don't want to simp out to shooting games just because you think there's a demographic there, because if you're not happy, it translates directly to your viewers. And if you're stressed or you're constantly like rushing through something to produce content that you yourself would enjoy off stream, but you're feeling pressure on stream, then I just recommend you don't do that, because if you're constantly feeling pressured on stream, it really comes off in your streams. That being said, sometimes I don't take my own advice and I try to do stuff, and I'm going to try to take my own advice in the future. Riku says, that is very true. You want to get into a circle because you are interested and get along with people there. Go there because you think you can get along with people there, not because you want to advertise your own channel. And yeah, that pretty much sums up how you're supposed to approach streaming. Other things to improve your stream, because I've been noticing that I'm not too sure what a new stream person should be looking like, but I would say with confidence that my stream has been growing at a steady pace, and it's been growing extremely fast compared to a normal person. And I say that after a month and only having X amount of followers. I'm not even going to check the numbers, because if I start checking the numbers, I'm going to start getting worried. Which, by the way, don't check your numbers on stream, because that's like one of the last things you want to do. But I feel like I've been growing pretty steadily, and that's because I've been putting in the work to try to get social networking across different social groups, as well as putting myself out there, doing something new, doing something I'm not comfortable with. By the way, I'm super, super bad with public speaking and super bad talking to strangers. But over time, you get better at it. You get better at. Even at the beginning, oh my god, at the beginning just talking to myself was horrible, but now I can actually go on a topic and go into that topic, go in depth, and that's kind of where my that's kind of where my informative stream came in. How it came into being is me just trying to explain a topic, trying to find a way for me to be comfortable to constantly be talking, even if there's no one speaking to me, like right now. Although, don't worry about trying to speak right now, it's fine if you don't want to speak. What was I talking about? Sorry, I sometimes go like on a really big tangent, and then those tangents have tangents, and then those tangents have tangents. Speaks. I don't remember what I mean by speaks, but definitely, I do believe in everything I just said. What else? Going back to, I think I was on the topic of how you should learn about growing your channel. Other things you can do to grow your channel. I did mention this before, collabs. You want to collab on something you're comfortable doing. So part of the problem with collabs is, especially when you're new, is you don't know the personality of the people you're streaming with. Like, you've only met them for a short amount of time. Like, personally, I've done 2 collabs, and I've realized during those collabs, like, I'm not trying to throw shade at any one person, because I'm not going to call anyone out. But you start realizing that certain people just don't work with your style of collab. Like, maybe they're really focused on winning, or maybe they're just approaching the problem not as you would approach it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if there's tension, if you can feel the tension, then the audience can feel the tension. Definitely make sure that when you're doing something, you are comfortable in doing it. Because if you're starting to feel like stressed out as you're doing something, it starts. I'm not even saying that it's going to leak into your audience, because I've already said that many times before. Your quality of your stream starts dipping, and that's a bigger hit to your viewership, because you have to be consistent. One of the biggest things that Twitch says is you have to be consistent. And what people take that to mean is, oh, I just have to stream at the same time every day. No, 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 no. What that means is you have to be consistent in what your quality is. It doesn't matter how it. Okay, you can be bad at a video game, right? And you can show yourself improving over time. That's fine. Or you can show yourself not improving over time. But if you're not consistent in, let's say, your personality, if you're going from, being, simping for your chat because, you simp for your chat. But then if you go into a collab and then now you're like, you're kind of acting like a jerk all the time. And it's like, well, that's not really something people will stick around for because now they don't know who they signed up to be with. Versus, let's take a good example, Bungo Taiga. Bungo Taiga is a very, trickster kind of person. I'm not throwing shade on him at all, and I only say this because sometimes when I mention names, I'm worried that people think I'm throwing shade. This is absolutely not going to sound like shade. Bungo Taiga is kind of like a trickster person. I'm going to shout him out her out. Him, her. I'm going to shout them out, okay? Because it's important that you get references in who I'm talking to. Bungo Taiga maintains a kind of spunky, upbeat character who's kind of trickstery, cheeky at times. I think they actually mentioned that they are cheeky. That's their brand, and they stick with that no matter where they are. So if Bungo appears on, for example, Uxiu's stream, if Bungo appears on Uxiu's stream, for example, playing a game that's cooperative at the same time murder, like Among Us is the example, or that one game that you're in a frosted place and you have to there's imposters that are trying to kill you. He generally screws with people. He's like, oh, am I an imposter or not? Or oh no, it's totally this guy. Or hey, it's funny when I do it. And he's doing so. Okay, we can actually broach what he said right there. So one of the things he did on Uxiu's stream, for example, was he hit the accuse button immediately when the game started and told everyone it was one specific person, and they all lynched that one person. And then a different game a couple days later, that person tried doing the same thing to Bungo. I don't know, it's just Taiga. I think people call him Taiga. The same person tried doing the same thing to Taiga, but it wasn't agreed upon, and it wasn't as funny. And the reason it wasn't as funny is because it's not their brand. Their brand was a serious person, so it was funny watching them being in a situation where they had to, the Japanese word for this is boke, but it's basically retort to what happened. Hey, wait, what? That kind of interaction. You can't go outside of... this is why some people, get stressed out when they're streaming, because it's really hard to get outside of the personality you've established for yourself. So that's why when you're streaming, don't freaking fake it. If you heckin' fake it, it's going to be really hard for you to keep up that facade, because now that you've established yourself as that type of person, it's going to be nigh impossible to leave it, because people are going to be expecting that person all the entire time. We can actually mention some YouTubers for this. There's someone named... Abroad in Japan. I'm just going to mention them. Abroad in Japan is a YouTuber. It's about the British guy who went to Japan, and he basically moved to Japan just to teach English, but also just to have a new experience. And at the beginning of his career, he was the sarcastic guy who make kind of witty humor all the time. But as time went on, he kind of went outside. He was basically putting on a character. But as time went on, he was he went outside of his house. He's not just doing reviews inside of his house. He was actually traveling around, and you can't be a dick outside. I mean, you don't want to be, because that's its own problem. But he kind of lost that character, and even though if he tried in the middle of that, him being outside. And going from his nice personality outside, snarky personality inside, to purposely always being snarky, that ruins his brand of, a nice guy who is just has cynical thoughts. And it's really difficult to establish your own personality if you don't know what you're doing. What I'd recommend if you're new to streaming is definitely just jumping straight into it and seeing where it takes you, because honestly, it's just a matter of learning from your mistakes and improving upon what you do. Another thing you should do is you should watch back your own streams. So a lot of I constantly have this problem where I don't realize that my audio is muted and my no one can hear my desktop audio, or I myself are muted. Or sometimes I'll watch back my stream and realize, oh crap, at some points during my stream there was actually doubled audio because I forgot to mute desktop audio and the source audio. I have to do one or the other. And being able to see yourself and objectively criticize yourself, not like being harsh on yourself. Don't even worry about the content you're doing. Just make sure you listen for stuff like verbal tics, like saying or constantly clearing your throat, or making sounds with your mouth. Going out of your way to try to reduce these things is one of the better ways to become a streamer, because once you're aware of it, you can take steps to fix it. Like me personally, I realized early on, like I kept on clearing my throat and making lots of sounds, and so I had to do the research and like, hey, I'm clearing my throat a lot, and I'm also making like a lot of sounds with my mouth. How do I stop it? And I figured out that, sorry, my throat's actually getting super dry doing this. I figured out that my throat, and the type of person I am, I need to drink way more water than normal. So now when I stream always with at least one massive glass of water. Although recently I've learned that I need to start upping how much water I have, because I'm starting to run out of water at the pace I'm going. And it's just the quality, just constantly quality checking your own stream. Like, this really sucks to do, but listening to yourself while streaming every once in a while does help, because man, you need to be able to understand what's going on in your stream, because you aren't going to be able to understand what's going on in your stream if you're new, because there's just no way you have that experience unless you've already been a content creator to begin with. And if you already have been a content creator to begin with, you already know what to look out for. But if you're way too new, there's no way you can understand what goes wrong and what you're doing well. Actually, that's another thing. So don't always be focusing on something that you're doing wrong. There is stuff that that is working during your streams. Like for me, I found out that even though I try not to lecture a lot, this kind of stuff really works for my stream, because while I do worry that I have people watching that aren't talking right now, like as I'm speaking, I do know that this is the type of thing that people are actually interested. This is one of the good reasons to watch me. Like part of the reason to watch me is I do these kind of informative things about a topic, whether it be learning languages or how to become a streamer or whatever I'm talking about. Just this is what's working for my stream. So something that I will continue to do and provide advice on, and trying to do something like that. But if this wasn't working out for me, definitely would immediately switch off and try to find something else. Because when I started streaming, I originally started, I don't think anyone here actually knows, I originally started as a playing Yakuza 0, and I was playing Atelier Ryza. And very early on, I figured out this is not something I can do. Yakuza 0, I realized, was a dead category, or not Yakuza 0, Yakuza 6. Yakuza 6 is a dead category. Not only is it a dead category, I personally couldn't provide commentary over what essentially was 2 hours of cutscenes at the beginning of the game. So I dropped that. Well, I started playing Atelier Ryza, which was a very popular game. But you start learning what can't work, what you do know how to handle and what you don't know how to handle. I couldn't handle being able to entertain an audience that wasn't there, just playing with menus, like clicking on your menus on and off for all of the gameplay actually. And then I decided, hey, look, I'm seeing Harune's. This is what I personally saw. I'm gonna shout her out again. I saw Harune's streams. I see how she runs her streams, and I'm really enjoying how they're run. I think I can do something similar to that, but I provide my own twist on it, which is, these stupid little lectures. Ace Simply Game Ply says, gotta go, take care of my parents with COVID, y'all stay safe. Yeah, take care, thanks for dropping by, hope to see you again. If this is your last time tuning in, thanks for giving me your time. And if we'll see you next time, yeah, where was I? I was talking about Harune stream and learning about what you need, what you should do, and what's healthy for your stream. If something's not working out for you, and that's part of the problem that you're worried about. Like, you should change it. But there's also the fact that you shouldn't just change off of it if it isn't working. Part of being a streamer is consistency, as I said before, but you also have to just understand that as a relatively new streamer with lower than a partnership amount of views or even lower than an affiliate amount of views, that you're going to have to understand that chat's going to be dead for the majority of the time. You need to be able to just keep with it, okay? You can't give up on what you're doing if it's something that you truly enjoy, because people come for the content. Like, there's always a niche you will be able to fill. There's like never going to be a time in which something you do won't interest someone else, all right? But with that being said, if what you're doing really doesn't pan out for you and part of your enjoyment comes from people, you will have to make some changes. Like, if you're doing a stream about something you love but it's not working, figure out something that changes it. Figure out something that can make it make the way you're currently doing things better. Where's a good example? The problem is I'm actually so new to the community. I don't have a good idea. I don't have a good story that I can personally share in which I can say I pivoted off of this. Like, eventually I think I'm going to be pivoting off of purely just chatting streams. I've already tried doing a pivot yesterday, but I didn't follow my own instructions. And I took a look at viewer counts, and oh my god, I just realized, like, hey, don't do that, because oh my god, don't do it. It's such a bad idea. Like, if there's any one advice I could give to a new, if there's a codified set of advice I can give to new streamers, don't look at the numbers, and keep doing what you're doing, because you're probably going to do good at it. Erikune, I have a question. When your chat is dead, would I say it's better to just talk to myself or try and engage to a chat that isn't responding or empty? To that, I would say it's better to talk to yourself. Do not force people to speak. That's going to create the most awkward situation. All right, I'll tell you why. I'll approach both of these. I'll do what you should do first, and then I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. All right. When I say it's better, when your chat is dead, and the reason I point out chat is dead, but I'm okay with it, is you can't force chat to do something that they don't want to do. It's better to be able to carry a conversation about yourself. So this is a skill that you will have to acquire if you're trying to do a just chatting category or something where you're trying to do audience engagement. If you're trying to do something that involves audience engagement, you need to have running commentary, or maybe you have a friend. If you're able to have two people talking, it's good. But you can't have dead air. One of the biggest things that I learned when you started streaming is having dead air is a death sentence. Not that the audience has a dead air, you have a death air. You have to be able to entertain people in times where people can't always be there, because there are people who are lurking, who are watching you, and there are people who don't be in chat. But when you first start streaming, it's most likely going to be lurkers, and you have to be able to entertain the lurkers to consistently have them being lurking in your own stream. So it's better to try to talk about something, because if you constantly talk about something, there's so many side benefits with it. But I think the biggest benefit is people get to see what type of person you are. People get to see either how you think or how... hold on. Let's skip forwards to something that doesn't have lyrics, so it's easier to hear me. You need to be able to carry a conversation by yourself, because people will be able to determine what type of personality or what kind of content creator you are from that. If you try to engage a chat that isn't responding or is empty, sure, you might have someone who's really like, alright, I'll try to throw in some topics myself. But for the most part, you're going to ask that topic, wait, and never get a response. I'd say roughly about 20 seconds is the longest you can have of dead air if it's purely focused on commentary, like a just chatting. Because if you wait longer than 20 seconds, you're now starting to stream to no one. And if people have you open for background noise or something, that's not going to work out for those people. If you have people on who want to engage you but don't find anything that they're interested in talking in, now you have them now they're forced to be your content. And if you can't, as an entertainer, entertain, it's going to be really hard for you down the line. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is really going to be hard for you down the line. I was meaning to make another point, but I forgot because I was going to go change the lyrics. Other points in how to improve your stream. Background music. You want to have I mean, there's just so I'll just mention. Oh, hold on. Rakuna says, as an aside, I have a jar of applesauce. It knew how it's far too viscous to actually get out of the jar with it. All right, all right, all right. See my model? Take the jar. I might even hook up my VC face if you don't know, right? Take the model. Go. And just keep on leaning backwards, all right? If the jar is wide-lipped, do your best and try to not like splash your face with applesauce. But yeah, you can just drink it out of the jar. I mean, you don't have a small amount of applesauce, so you just go, and you have a very small amount of applesauce. It just doesn't matter. Anyways, back to the matter at hand. The matter of audience engagement. I'll talk about what you need on a stream and after. What you need for audience engagement. Don't make it so that you only have to do audience engagement. Okay. Especially for game this matters more for people who are doing game commentary or people who are working on something, like maybe they're doing art or maybe they're working on a project or of some sort. I don't know. People do a lot of stuff on here, right? Audience engagement, you want to make sure that the audience knows you're paying attention to them. So you will want to occasionally look over and say, do some banter, because the whole point of streaming is to have audience engagement. However, you can't just stop in the middle of what you're doing. Maybe if you wanted to take a break, like if you're taking a small break from what you're going to do. Okay, see ya, Asa. See you later. Maybe if you need to take a small break from what you're doing, to maybe catch your breath or to do some comedic cuts between comedic timing. No, not comedic timing. You can't go on a death march on what you're doing. You can't just constantly be there. You have to take breaks. Like every now and again, I'm cutting out to acknowledge the I'm not acknowledging every comment, but I am taking a time to sometimes look over here and say, oh yeah, I'll respond to that one or this one. But yeah, it can't just be a death march of your own content, but also at the same time, don't let the audience overtake your stuff, because again, that's not the focus. The focus is on you. Which is also the reason why it's super frickin' BM to bring up any other streamers during someone else's stream if they don't explicitly mention them, or something like that. Anyways, so the last point I wanted to make is before we move on from this topic is what you do need for your stream is you need background music of some sort. Generally, you want to be going with royalty-free music, so that way your stream doesn't get muted at the end. And now I don't know if I have to worry about my stream getting muted at the end because I'm talking over it a lot. But if you don't want your stream to get muted, your VOD to get muted, and then you need some sort of background image or stream layout, generally people have over here. If I can bend my head far enough, yeah, right where my head is. Generally, people will have a YouTube link there, or their follower sub count. Hold on, I need to put my head back in the right place. Here we go. Generally, people will have a follow button there, or maybe their last running donation or something. Over here, where my head or where my little sprout is, you'll probably want some sort of, hey, if you're following me, you'll appear here. You want some way to represent you for the most part. There are examples of people who have been able to successfully stream without showing representation of themselves, other than what they were doing. Such as art streamers can do this. It's mostly art streamers who can do this because it focuses on them creating art. Then you have some video game streamers who only stream the game. That is kind of harder because you still want to have audience engagement. And if you're a new streamer and you're not having some sort of visual feedback for what you're doing, that's going to be much harder. And the last thing you want is some sort of coherency to your setups and consistency between. Because if I switch between being on YouTube, for example, to playing a game, to showing you my music, the stream layout has to look the same. Consistency is one of the things people love because they know where to look. If you're if your chat's like way over here and then way over here, and then sometimes it's below the chat like way down here, and then other times it's like above everything, or maybe to the upper left or bottom right. It's like where am I supposed to look to get information? Eric Kune says, mute can get copyright checked even behind audio commentary. I would not rely on someone that's talking away to avoid copyright trouble on background audio. So do try to keep it royalty free if you want to avoid muting. Yes, that is true. The only reason I say that audio commentary can prevent you does have some weight to be able to prevent you from being able to be copyright striked is because of the Fair Use Act, which basically says as long as you can't replace the music. One of the topics broached in that is if this audio or if what I'm doing can't be taken as a replacement for what else I'm showing. So if I'm showing a movie but I'm providing live commentary over it, and I have a different UI for it, it counts as fair use because now it's transformed in such a way that it cannot be taken as the original product anymore. But yeah, that was my lecture on how to become a streamer and how to improve on your streaming. So thanks for sticking around for that. I gotta figure out a different topic now, which is really difficult all the time, and it will never not be difficult on figuring out what to talk about, because generally after I lecture, I come down from a lecture high. Let me drink some water. And that's the last of my water. Ooh, what happened there? VC face, what was that? I like jumped. But yeah, I wonder what to do. That's not technically true, although more so if you want to avoid copyright attempts over being sure you can win a lawsuit. Yeah. Oh, and the screen being too busy is a problem as well. I've seen some stream where I have trouble turning on because the fonts are hard to read, the things are all over the place, and mess with colors everywhere. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of something called stream avatars where they have like 50 or so things at the bottom of your screen and you can like explode them, or they can duel each other or fight. Sometimes if your stream makes people visually puke because there's so much stuff in there, it's not something you want to be doing. Basically, just make sure whatever type of stream you're going for, you have the same setup as that type of stream. Ooh, I was talking for so long just then. Slightly lightheaded from that, but it's good. I think it's something that people would actually be interested in. This is probably a topic I'm not going to broach again for a good while, mostly because I don't like recycling topics, and it is good to be consistent, but it's not good to be that consistent. Like, I remember early on I kept on relying on trying to interest people in stuff, like basically do an application elevator pitch, and you can't constantly do that. No. Sorry, I'm just mentally taking a rest. I've been I've been sprinting a marathon in my head for information to. Sorry, I dropped my keys. My left arrow key. I've been popping in my information in my head for a long time, and now that I've hit this lull, my brain's kind of melty. Although I do feel way more awake than I did before. Keep it active enough to be interesting to look at, but muted enough that things are not so busy that you can clearly see everything. Yes. Moving GIFs, not a great idea. Especially if they're all over the screen and making you puke. It really should just be chat's a necessity on the stream. Some sort of visual feedback from the user is necessary, and the current topic of what's being done. So maybe if they're doing art, have the art be up there, or if they're playing a game, the game mostly being up there with a bit of UI elements if you need to have some extra advertisement going on during your stream. It's really weird to. Okay, this is me going off on a tangent now. People who advertise their Twitch while they're streaming on Twitch